Good morning. I'm so glad that everyone's online or here in the sanctuary. I know that some of you are anxious because we have all this news about the hurricane coming. I hope that you're getting done with some of your preparation, but just know that we're praying for you, praying for each other, and just hunker down and give it up to the Lord. So we're in chapter 4 of Ezra already, and there was a lot going on. Our people went to, we saw that the people came.
Hello, Jen.
Good morning. We saw that the people came from Babylon, and we saw that they came to Jerusalem, and some of them to some of their other towns. And they are just trying to get themselves acclimated, and they're trying to rebuild the temple. And what a task that is. So, if anyone has any questions from the last 3 chapters, feel free to ask your questions. No? Okay, good. That's great. Well, today is a little bit unusual because we're going to see something that happens, and we're going to kind of talk about how we would react if this happened to us. And my question to you this morning is this: have you ever come to a place in your life where you were given a second chance or an opportunity to start again, to rebuild something that had been damaged or destroyed, to follow God's teachings and leadings? Did I hear a yes there? Okay, good God, me too. Yeah, wow. Well, it's keeping going, right? Keeping going. That brought you satisfaction and joy when you started again. Maybe it took days, weeks, months, years even, but you knew you were on the right track, so you were okay. You were achieving goals that you never even thought of before, right? A lot of people are like that. Yeah, amen. It was a good time, and sunshine was everywhere, spiritual sunshine as well as physical sunshine. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes a shock. Well, it could be an illness. It could be a death in a family. It could be the loss of a job. Or it could be a false accusation. And there was nothing to be done. It seemed like you were stuck and life seemed to be stalled. You didn't know what the next day was going to bring. Well, in chapter 4 of Ezra, this is what happens. And we're going to see how people reacted to it. Who has Ezra chapter 4, verses 1 and 2? Thank you.
Now, when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity building the temple unto the Lord, God of Israel, then they came to
Zerubbabel.
and the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your God, as ye did. And we do sacrifice unto him the days of
Esarhaddon.
Thank you. King Bastard, which brought us up hither.
Okay, so right away we're seeing a group of people who are called the enemies in the Bible. They're called the enemies, and they come up to the Hebrews. They send a delegation, maybe 4 or 5 people, that are the heads of their tribes there. And they send this delegation to Zerubbabel, and they want to talk to him. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see a bunch of people coming up to me to talk to me, immediately my radar goes off and I'm thinking, uh-oh, trouble, right? Well, he was the leader. Zerubbabel was the leader of rebuilding the temple. He was telling people what to do and how to do it. He had the plans. And so he was doing that. Well, they had a simple request. They said, let us join you in worship. Oh, sounds innocent enough, doesn't it? Right? I mean, you know, if you're the captain and a bunch of people come up and you don't know really who they are and they say, we want to join you in worship, you're like, yeah, okay, sure, right, you know, go ahead. Well, not on your life. Zerubbabel was not going to have it. And you're like, wait a minute, why? I mean, you know, that's the question that comes up in your mind. Why? Well, they were a mixed group of people. The delegation represented a mixed group of people. Now, that sounds interesting. What had happened is the king of Assyria, when he came and he captured the country of Israel, at the time, the tribes were divided into two countries. There was Israel in the north, and there was Judah in the south. And Israel was a lot more sinful. And God allowed the king of Syria to come and punish the people of Israel. And he demolished everything there and grabbed them all up, you know, most of them up, and took them as slaves to Assyria. They were captives there. Well, then he got this smart idea. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, I've conquered all these other countries. I'm going to take a few people from each country that are captives, and I'm going to bring them back and put them in this section of Israel. Not the whole of Israel, just this little section. And so that's what they did. Well, that section came to be known as Samaria. And those people were called Samaritans, right? And so you see them referred to in other parts of the Bible too. In Nehemiah, who is one of the prophets that you can read about after Ezra. It's like, you know, Ezra and Nehemiah, and it goes on like that. Nehemiah chapter 4 and 2 talks about him. 2 Kings, where we learn about the captivity, 17 verses 24 to 41 talks about the Samaritans and how they came. Then Matthew in the New Testament talks about the Samaritans. And Matthew 10, chapter 5, is the one that talks about the Samaritan woman, the one that came to the well and met Jesus. And then we have Luke chapter 10. He talks about the Samaritans, only this time he talks about the good Samaritan, which is really something. And John chapter 4, verse 9, he talks about the Samaritans too. Well, this group of people, when they first got there, they were still worshiping their own gods. They brought their gods with them from their country. They scooped them up and put them in their saddlebags or put them into neckerchiefs or something so that they had their idols with them. And they worshiped those gods while they were there in Samaria. The awful thing is some of their worship, some of their sacrifices were terrible. There was one group of people that actually fed their children to the fire god, and that was terrible. This made God so angry. I mean, he was furious about what was happening. So he decided to send some lions among the people, among the Samaritans there. So there was so many lions that they were killing and eating up all the people in Samaria. And the king of Assyria heard about this. And he thought, oh, what am I going to do? I'm not going to have any people over there. And if I don't have any people, they can't grow wheat and whatever else and they can't give me tribute. So, So he decided to take one of the priests that he had taken captive and he had there with him in Assyria. He took one of the Israelite priests and he sent him back to Samaria. And he had the task of trying to tell them all about the one true God. And he did. This priest went back. He told the people about the one true God, and they started worshiping the one true God. Well, this went on really well for a while. And it doesn't tell us exactly how many years they actually worshiped the one true God. But eventually what they did is they decided they were still intermarrying among themselves there. You know, Assyrians, Israelites, all the other countries, they were intermarrying. And so their little gods, they were started bringing them out of the closet, you know, or from under the bed. And they started worshiping the small, little, and big gods again. And so they decided, let's worship God along with all our other little gods. That'll be good. We'll do that. So they became a separate country from Judah. And they just were doing everything differently. They were not worshiping the one true God. And today, the people that lived in Samaria are called Palestinians. Those were where the very source of the Palestinian people. Well, since they weren't Hebrews to begin with, and they did not worship God only, and they intermarried, that is why Zerubbabel told them no. Because God had chosen the Hebrews to be his special chosen people. They were not to worship any other god. They were not to intermarry with any other country. They were God's chosen people. And they were to tell people about the one true God so that in their country they could worship the one true God. But that's not what happened. And so they were told, this group was told they could not participate in building the temple or taking part in the worship because it would not be holy anymore. It would just be one God among many. So, I don't know about you, but when I was little, my mom and dad would say something to me to go do something, and I wouldn't want to do it, and I'd say no, and then I'd be in trouble. And I hated to be told to do something years ago. Growing up as a child, I was very, very spoiled, and I hated being told no when I wanted to do something. And this got me into a lot of trouble as I was growing up. Well, guess what? The Samaritans were just like that. They didn't like being told no. So, what do you think they were going to do? Oh boy, they decided to take matters into their own hands. Anyone have number 2? Yes.
Then the people around them set out to discourage the people of Judah and made them afraid to go on building.
So they decided, if we can't participate, if we can't help them build, we're going to make sure they can't build. We're going to do everything we can to make it hard on them. So if you're mad about not being included in something, what would you do? Rebel. Well, how would you rebel? What would you do? Anybody? Sorry? Sabotage. Right. Yeah. Maybe attack the builders. How about start fires in the wood? Create accidents among the workers? Steal the supplies? threatened the workers' families. Now, I'm not saying I did any of this stuff, okay? Just so you know. Most of the time when I did something, it was always like a prank. You know, like at camp, you short sheet the bed, or you put crackers in the bed, or, you know, you steal their sheets. Itching powder, yes, a good one. Well, I have to tell you, as an aside, I think it all caught up with me because when I was an officer in one particular corps and went with the Home League ladies to camp, because we used to have retreat at camp, they got back at me, and I had very bad allergies at that time, so I took an allergy pill. Once I take an allergy pill, I'm out like a light. We had some very strong ladies. They picked up my bed, and they took it outside of the cabin and brought it to the pole, the flagpole. And so a little later on in the evening, I'm waking up because I'm cold. I was by the flagpole. I slept through it. I did not know what they were doing. So, you know, the Lord was telling me no more of those kind of pranks, you know. So, yeah, they oh, they probably don't even remember it now, you know, but that's what happened. Anyhow, these people then bribed, they didn't stop there. They sent bribes to the officials in Babylon. And they did this, they sent those bribes so that they would create trouble and accusations and everything from the time of Cyrus, I'm doing good today, from the time of Cyrus all the way through the different kings to the time of Darius. They were still trying to put false accusations and everything. Well, that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. When Xerxes became king, they decided they were going to write a letter. So they got their special person that could write, and they dictated a letter to Xerxes, the king of Babylon, and they made accusations against the city of Jerusalem. Anybody have Ezra 4:6, number 3? Thank you.
At the beginning of the reign of Xerxes, they lodged an accusation against the people of Judah and Jerusalem.
So they wrote this huge, long letter. I mean, it was long. You know, you can read it in the Bible. You can read it was a long letter. But before they got into the meat of the letter, they listed themselves, who they were. They made sure that Xerxes was going to know who was writing the letter to them. And they were doing this and naming their territories and everything. And this was a way of showing a united front so that he would think, oh, wow, something must be really serious here. We've got all these people. Plus, they wanted to assert that they were the loyal ones. You know, we're behind you, Xerxes. We're doing what we're supposed to do. But, you know, these Hebrews, they're not doing it. You need to research. So you can read the letter in Ezra chapter 4, verses 9 through 16. You can read what they wrote. Well, they must have been on pins and needles. They could hardly wait for a reply. And it might have taken months, you know, who knows? It might have taken weeks, because it depends on how that letter traveled to Babylon and back. I think they probably would have tried to have it travel as fast as they possibly could. So who knows how they did it? Well, eventually a reply came back. Does anyone have Ezra 4:21? Yes, thank you.
Now issue an order to these men to stop work, so that this city will not be rebuilt until I so order.
Wow. He says, stop. No more. can't do any more work. You have to just lay down your tools, put aside your supplies, and go do something else. Repair your own house, or, go out in the fields or whatever. That's what you have to do. Well, the Hebrews, they didn't have anyone to defend their cause in Babylon at that time. The king, he himself had not researched through the records to find out that, hey, Cyrus is the one that sent these people here. Cyrus is the one that sent all the supplies. He gave them people that knew how to build. Hey, but he didn't do that. He didn't research far enough back. So they had no choice. They had to stop. They had to quit working on the temple. The work, quote, quote, officially did not resume until Darius became the king of Babylon. And that was approximately 16 years later. But officially, the work did not go on. Or, boing, did it. We're going to look in Ezra chapter 5 to find out what's happening next. I like this. It's like a mystery story. What happened next? And it's also a help to us, because when we come up against all these difficulties, God provides an answer. He provides something that you need. And I'm thanking the Lord today because that's what's happening. I'm here today because both my sons have been driving me around so that I can get around places. And I've been going to the doctor, and he's helping me to feel better. So even though that one day I thought, oh no, I'm shut off from everything, God found a way. And that's what I hope you'll find this week, that as you reread these chapters and as you go on to chapter 5, you'll find the way that God has for you. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.